Well, so this afternoon, here's the big deal. Government has actually served notice that it will be selling off some unprofitable state agencies if they fail to turn the tide. The decision actually follows a 2020 state ownership report released by the Finance Ministry, which recorded a 5.3 billion cedis loss by state-owned enterprises. The ministry, however, says that the figure represents nearly 50% of an improvement on the 2019 aggregate net loss. But there's a need for us to break all of this down for you, and you have it right here on the screens. And I'm also sure that you'll be getting that on your screens right now, giving the public outcry. A lot of search has gone into how our state-owned enterprises are faring and how much losses they are making. We've been assessing, for instance, the case in the energy sector for you. Here's a picture of how some of these state-owned enterprises are faring. So, for instance, take a look at the Electricity Company of Ghana. They were in the news very recently, and they were complaining about giving timelines and many organizations not paying up their bills. So here's their case, for instance. ECG as a 2020, and we have some of the figures here, 22,680 68 Ghana cedis, for instance, and these are amounts, various amounts that they are owing. You look at the trend in 2019, 2018, and then 2012, you see that the figure keeps increasing in terms of the amounts. Right from 2016, when they were owing in excess of or indebted in excess of some 10 million Ghana cedis, we know that that has grown into some 22 million cedis. And that's not all. There are more enterprises and state-owned institutions here on this chart for you. Gov't is on it. A total of about 14, for instance, institutions in the energy sector. And if you look at the total, it's all amounting to some 50,714 million cedis. That's in 2016. But then the figures keep increasing all the way into 2020. But 2020 is far better as compared to 2019, because in 2019, there was some 83,301 million cedis that was recorded as a loss. But now we know that that figure has come down a bit, but it's still raging somewhere around a figure that is lesser than what we recorded in 2019. We know the government has also been indicating that it will be taking some critical measures to deal with indebtedness in the public sector, because, mind you, this is not a problem just facing the energy institutions as well. We know that Gov't is not the only institution in the energy sector. There are a total of about some 14 and more, and also some state-owned enterprises that are indebted. So what is government doing about all of this, and how do they intend to make our state-owned enterprises more profitable? There's a need for us to hear from the authorities, and that's why, giving the public outcry over the inefficiencies in the public sector, I of course engaged the sector minister, Joseph Kujo, who's in charge of state enterprises, and I started by asking him why there is so much massive failure in the public sector. Here's his response, and in fact he reveals that government may be selling some non or unprofitable state agencies. Listen.
And it is understandable. You and I, we collect our taxes, give to the state enterprises, and they just spend the taxes and start calling for more capital injection. Whereas their counterparts in the private sector, from industry to industry, if you take the telecommunications industry, if you take transport industry, you take housing industry, you take health services delivery industry, across all the industry spectrum, what you see is that private sector enterprises flourishing, generating profits, and paying dividend to the shareholder, who is the investor. But the same thing is not happening in the public sector space. This government shares the vision to turn the narrative around. So this asset in respect of Ghana Post, which has been given to them, has been given to them on the back of very solid business proposal, just like any private enterprise would do. So you have ideas, you have projections, you need asset support to realize those ideas and generate the needed revenue, pay your staff well, and be able to pay your taxes and pay dividend to government or state as an investor. That is the product, the delivery that has been done. Ghana Post, fortunately, has rolled out a product that combines the human resource or the staffing level they have together with the huge asset base they hold on their balance sheet And the technological environment the government has also delivered the opportunity for the data infrastructure to be used and talents of the youth to be enhanced in developing apps and internet-based products and so on. That is the narrative of the Ghana Post today.
So you're expecting that to be more
So we're expecting them to be able to operate efficiently and generate the profits and be able to pay taxes and dividends to government as a major, as the shareholder, sole shareholder in Ghana Post.
Now, we know that Ghana Post is not the only state-owned enterprise. There are so many of them out there, and many of them are struggling. In fact, there's a recent report out there pointing out that some agencies, particularly in the energy sector, are running at a loss, and that's coming at a huge cost to government. What are you doing to address some of these inefficiencies in the public sector?
Yes, if you table the problem to the level of inefficiency, then inefficiency is the easiest to solve with technology. You can't change people's mind. You can't change people's attitude and the operational structure they have now overnight. But if you introduce technology in operations, you begin to address the inefficiencies.
But some are saying you should rather go after these people and punish them and recoup government funds. These are funds that are for the taxpayer. Why not going for these amounts that we are losing?
Very good you brought this point up. Let me use the opportunity to educate all of us. When an enterprise, a company, is operating at losses, you assess the source of the losses. It may be market-driven losses. For example, you're operating in a COVID environment. Your Joy FM may say sack some people, or let them take half pay and survive the situation. But when you see loss reported, you won't go and fire the CEO, will you? Because the environment did not permit profitable operations. Similarly, the state enterprise also operates in an environment. So you look at the environmental analysis and make sure that that general problem is sorted, like the enterprise models its operations to survive in that environment first, before you can point an accusing finger of non-performance on the CEO and staff. Sometimes it is customers who do not pay when you provide services to them. Why would you complain? Introduce.
But some will say if you look at the reports from 2019, and this is not starting now, the trend has been that there's inefficiency in the public sector. So what are you going to do to tackle this, aside the use of energy, technology? Are you going to go for these funds or perhaps cut down government resources to these entities? What are you going to do practically to solve the situation?
Listen to this. First and foremost, at the policy level, Ministry of Finance is not going to write a check to give to state enterprises when they run it down, like it's been happening since independence.
You're not doing that anymore?
No, not that anymore. That's why you can see Ghana Post. I'm praising them for having taken the lead to come out with products and services that meet market needs and generate revenue and generate growth from within, because all of them have assets. When it comes to inefficiency, I'll repeat, you address inefficiencies through training and use of technology. I'll give you an example of...
You don't believe it's a problem of corruption? You don't believe that?
Listen, how do you solve problem of corruption? That is, go after them. You know, rule of law. So go after them means that I should spend my energy. One maybe corrupt practice or a customer who has defaulted, I should be spending energy going after customers at court. 173 plus state enterprises. Can that be done? No. You say, I've told them, every state enterprise must implement real-time accounting system and real-time operational structures, because now we have the digital infrastructure that will enable one company see its operation from one computer screen, a laptop in front of the manager here, and see what is happening internally. Boko, who, Takrade. Do you understand? You use technology. And once you can efficiently manage real-time accounting, for example, will ensure speedy, audited financial statement delivery for decision making, so far as the boards are concerned, so far as management team is concerned. So real-time accounting solutions, digitalization of their operations should be possible. Imagine the banks that hold in excess 100 branches. If they don't operate on digital platform, you withdraw money, but your account is debited. There's a screen somewhere. Are you getting? This is the direction you should go. It also checks corruption in a more efficient way than looking for a cane and chasing people around. No.
That's not the best approach. But some are also saying, let's do an internal audit of all these state agencies. Perhaps looking at the SIGA report, the problem might be bigger than what is happening now. What's your take on that?
My take on that is that, first, you can't even manage what you cannot measure. I don't know how anybody can manage effectively what you can't measure. So, financial and operating reports, financial reports, operations reports are the ones that should be up to date. When I took this position, I've been visiting some enterprises. There you can see operational inefficiencies. You can see lack of financial reporting to even meet financial reporting compliance. Simple. Implement the solutions. They are there. Real-time accounting system, real-time enterprise resource system are there. Implement them. Let the board, through management, implement these processes. And then you have real-time data to make real-time solutions that are market-driven.
But don't you feel this casts a verdict on on government, and also what some would say is your inability to crack the whip?
Why do we are so negative-minded and crack the whip? I personally believe in enterprise management to mean train the people to do it well, put in place the measures to avoid corruption. Do you understand? And fire the one who has been trained and still subvert the system to be corrupt. Do you understand? That is the level you go to crack the whip. But the person is sitting in an enterprise environment where the environment has caused the manager not to be able to even come out with his best, the environment. And then you are going to punish him for that? Do you understand? So first, you have to provide the environment for the person to be performed. It is at that level that you begin to crack the whip, when you have everything it takes for you to perform, and you are not performing. What I have personally seen is that in the state enterprises space, we have brilliant people capable of delivering the results we want, except that the environment has not been conducive. I'll cite one example.
You mean the civil servants are not helping? Or?
I'll cite one example. We put in place too much or excessive compliance for them. For example, MD of Ghana Post identifies a market opportunity to deliver 10 motorbikes to Ho, for example, to make sure that it captures some market revenues. And then you say you should go to PPA, Public Procurement Act, because we are so minded of stealing more than performance that we say go to PPA. And the next 6 months, the man's proposal is at PPA. He's waiting for PPA to approve. What are you doing? Are you not creating a condition for non-performance? Are you getting me? So this one, you say the solution is any state enterprise incorporated under the company's code, just like MTN incorporated under it, just like tell of the fine companies that are growing, incorporated under the code, and which provide adequate governance structure for them to be market-driven and operate speedily. But when you put your state enterprise under PPA, and 6 months buying even a motorbike becomes a problem, what are you doing? And then you go and punish that MD. Maybe that MD, if he were to find the same private enterprise environment, he would have done better than maybe the private compatriot or the private counterpart. That is what we should begin to think about. It appears as a country, our mind is so directed at.
You feel we are fixated on the CEOs and all of that, but what's your
negative aspects, and we forget the training, the conducive environment we have to create for people to perform.
But if that has to happen, it has to happen from your quarters. What's your caution to the CEO of the various state corporations in the wake of public outcry that there's a need for efficiency and expediency in the public sector?
My caution is just financial compliance. One word: compliance. You operate in an environment, comply with the dictates of the environment. Every state enterprise, from transport to housing to post, like Ghana Post, to electricity generation, to VRA, to transmission, to distribution, every sector where the state enterprise is, that sector has compliance. If I say compliance, financial report. If a state enterprise for 12 years, like we met, situation we met, hasn't prepared financial report, how can you manage such a company? You sign a check, you give to them, it will sink because it's like a sinking hole. Are you getting that? So, compliance. Prepare your financial report, make them up to date. We are in 2022, April. Is your 2021 audited financial report available as dictated by the Public Financial Management Act? Is it available? If it's not available, that's where you begin to crack the whip, because we need it to make decision going forward. Do you understand? So those compliance, you are in an industry. I'll give another example. You are in an industry. Let's say the financial services sector. State has an enterprise there through NIB. Private sector has an enterprise there through APSA or Sanchat. They are all competing in the same environment for same customers, for them to make revenue, to generate revenue, incur costs, and report profits to shareholders, right? The state enterprise in that sector should comply with reporting standards, just like the private counterpart, APSA, Sanchat, is complying, generating up-to-date reports to management, for management to generate up-to-date report to boards, and for boards to generate up-to-date reports.
So these are some of the things you'll be doing. So briefly, in about a minute or two, what are we to expect in the coming days? Are you going to roll out some new measures?
Yes, we're rolling out measures. We are doing some policies. Equity study, for example, is to look at what we call recommendations. There are state entities that the equity study would recommend for cabinet approval to say, for this entity, invite a strategic investor into it. Because the nature of its business and the nature of capital requirements, state cannot. So invite a strategic investor. There are some that you say, take it to the stock market for listing, because private Ghanaians will be interested holding shares of those companies, and by so doing, inject capital anytime that company needs capital. So some will be private, some will be sold off. There are defunct enterprise sitting on assets, and government is using taxpayers' money, paying some security people, and people are demolishing the asset and selling. Something like that you don't hold. You be selling it? Oh, ask you, common sense. When you have a company, you cannot, the company has been run down. It's just defunct. It's not functioning. Collapse. Assets sitting there. Okay? You have to pay security every month to take care of it. You don't have money to pay because they've run it down. You don't have money to pay for it to operate. What will you do? The private man will sell before it reaches even that stage. Do you understand? But sentiment, because of sentiment, will hold on to it and keep using your tax, income tax, when you check your pay slip, your tax, and then they go and pay for that defunct town in the bush. And you see it run down down and down because of sentiment.
So sentiments shouldn't apply here when you start selling, when we see that you're rationalizing and selling these companies.
The questions you have asked me, which one can be solved with sentiment? You see, none. None. That private company, your company, your Joy, if the MD were to use sentiment to manage, I will come and see a collapsed Joy FM. Not growing. I'm telling you for fact. Sentiment doesn't come in if you exact performance from people taking care of your investments. And I mean people taking care of your investment. Sentiment doesn't come in. Of course, those that should deliver welfare services, you separate them.
Okay, they will be exempt from the whole rationalization and sale of defunct companies.
No. They will be expected to, let's say, land commission. If you purchase land before and you know the kind of things they can do to deliver an environment that is conducive for investment. People coming to Ghana to, they say to invest, you definitely need a space. You want to acquire land, and it's taking forever to acquire land. And acquiring land to corruption, frustrations, and so on. Something like that. You are not exacting profits from them, but you are exacting operational efficiency from them. They too, they have the yardstick they should go with. That digitalize your operations. Let somebody go on an app. There is a mobile money that can be used to pay for the service. I can make a search on my phone. You are creating a conducive environment. The expectation of them will be different from a Gov't that produces alcohol. Is alcohol a welfare? I think that a Ghana government should produce alcohol for its citizens. So that one, it's an investment. So you go with a mindset that is investment driven, and you make sure that the chief executive is encouraged to turn up products that can be exported, that can be marketed. Are you getting me? So the yardstick for oversighting, all of them are different. But the broader picture is that this government has a Minister for Public Enterprises through SIGA, State Interest and Governance Authority to oversight the state enterprises sector, that space, so that we change the narrative.